Scott's bar smelled the same as it always did, like hangovers and broken luck. Boiled meat that had sat too long, liquor that burned wrong, sweat baked into the walls. The kind of stink that crawls under your skin and stays there. I sat in the corner booth where the shadows kept you company, nursing a glass that did more damage than good. I wasn't looking for work that night. I wasn't looking for anything. But in a place like Scott's, the work finds you. The signal came quiet, like a whisper in the back of my skull. Comms on a low-frequency burst, buried under the static of old machines. Nobody else in the bar noticed, not even Scott polishing the same glass he's polished for years. But I felt it, the kind of pulse you don't ignore unless you're tired of breathing. Saltfire flats, 3 haulers, 4 escort rigs, stolen weapons stripped from a dead garrison, a warlord convoy making its move across open ground. The contract was simple: destroy the shipment, take proof from the leader, and leave no one alive to tell the story. I finished the glass. Didn't taste of anything, but I drank it anyway. Then I stood, and Scott gave me that look, the one that says you'll be back if you're lucky. I didn't answer. Saltfire wasn't just a name, it was a curse. The flats stretched wider than you could see, crust cracked and red where mineral veins bled through, dunes shifting like slow waves. In daylight it boiled, air thick with heat shimmer, skin cracking if you didn't cover up. At night it glowed faint, salt crystals catching moonlight, turning the whole ground into a bruised ocean of blood and bone. That's where I sat down. The wretched light groaned as she cut her engines, the desert winds scraping her hull. She never liked this kind of landing, but she bore it. She always did. I packed light, cloak pulled over against the glare, rifle tight against my back, satchel with just enough charges to break a convoy's spine. Then I walked. That's the thing about Saltfire. The silence isn't empty. Every step echoed like a second set of boots, like someone was always following. The wind carried whispers, salt scraping across stone. If you listened too long, you'd swear the ground itself was talking. I kept my pace steady. Hours later, I found the ridgeline, high enough to see without being seen. I dug into the dust, let it cover me, rifle laid out in front, and I waited. Convoys move with arrogance. They believe their size makes them untouchable. The dust showed first, a long, dirty scar on the horizon. Engines rumbled after, low and heavy. Then they came. 4 escorts in low-slung rigs, armor bolted on like afterthoughts, turrets scanning with twitchy nervousness. Then, the haulers rolled in, monsters on wheels, salt crust baked thick on their steel bellies. Through the scope, I counted faces. Gunners half asleep, drivers chewing on stale rations, one man pissing over the side without looking. They thought the flats belonged to them. They were wrong. I let them get close. Close enough that the heat off their engines burned the back of my throat. Close enough to feel the vibration under my ribs. Then I thumbed the detonator. The first charge tore the lead escort apart. Steel and fire flipped it into the air, raining shrapnel across the salt. Screams carried on the wind. The convoy scattered, turrets swiveling wild, rounds chewing up the ridge where I'd been seconds before. I was already moving. Combat's not about speed, it's about rhythm. Step, fire, cover, breathe. Step, fire, cover, breathe. The first rig came too fast, turret coughing fire, but I clipped the gunner with one clean shot through the canopy. The driver panicked, swerved into a mineral spire, and the rig folded in on itself with a sound like bones snapping. The second rig swung wide, smarter. I planted another charge under its wheels as it passed. Dust covered me, hid me from their scopes. The explosion cracked its belly open, flames licking out, black smoke painting the air. But fights don't play fair. A rifle cracked from the smoke, and the round punched the air an inch from my chest. The shockwave knocked me sideways, ribs screaming. For a second, the world went white. The shooter came forward, long rifle steady, face painted with salt dust. He thought he had me. He didn't. When he leaned for the shot, I was already steady. One round, between the eyes. He dropped, face first, into the red dust. The haulers tried to scatter, too slow. I sprinted low, cloak dragging, and jammed a charge beneath the undercarriage of the first. The blast ripped through, weapons inside going off like fireworks. Rifles, ammo, grenades, all turned into burning shards. The sky lit white. Salt turned glassy under the heat. 2 haulers left. The last escort came screaming head-on, turret rattling. Salt shards cut my face, blood mixing with dust, but I rolled sideways into a ridge and came up braced. I stitched the gunner with 3 rounds, then cut the driver down through the slit. The rig coasted, wheels grinding, and died with a hiss. That left one, the leader's hauler. It was painted black, skull etched on the steel, defiant even under the sun. I climbed as it turned, boots slipping on scorched plating. Shots cracked from slits, close, hot, but they couldn't angle low enough. I ripped open the hatch, dragged a guard screaming into the flats. His body broke against the salt. Inside was chaos, men firing wild, smoke filling the air. The leader stood in the center, scarred face, calm eyes, jagged blade in his grip, bigger than me, stronger. He smiled like he'd been waiting for this. He came hard, blade slashing sparks across the steel walls. My coat caught, leather tearing, ribs flaring with pain. I jammed my rifle butt into his throat, staggered him, then kicked his knee sideways, but he didn't drop. We slammed against the bulkhead, blade inches from my face. He pressed, strength grinding against me. My arms shook, vision tunneled. If I faltered, I was gone. So I didn't. When he lifted the blade for the kill, I let it scrape shallow across my shoulder and drove the muzzle of my rifle under his chin. 2 rounds. His body crumpled, blade clattering useless. I cut the chain from his neck, the proof token. Heavy, tarnished, stinking of sweat. Contract complete. Outside, the flats were fire and silence. Wrecks smoked, flames climbing into a bruised sky. Salt glowed red, scattered with ash. The convoy was gone, burned into memory. Nothing left but the proof in my hand. I stood there longer than I should have, listening to the wind whisper through the wreckage, watching smoke curl into the horizon like ghosts. Then I walked back, ribs aching, coat torn, dust caked into my blood. The wretched light was waiting, patient as ever. She always was. Salt fire raid, filed, logged, done.
Now, that is the end for this one. Make sure you come back for more, and like and subscribe. See you soon.